Hi, my name is Terry Cole Brown, and my paper is on student retention in higher education. Um, the retention rate for students is often used interchangeably with persistence or the word persistence. And institutions are responsible for retention from the research that I found, and students are responsible for persistence. According to FAFSA, the retention rate is the percentage of schools' first year undergraduate students. So it's the percentage of freshmen who continue at that school the next year. So freshmen who continue on to be sophomores the next year. For example, a student who studies full-time in the fall semester and keeps on studying the program in the next fall semester is counted in this rate. 61% is the national average of freshmen returning to the same school as sophomores the following year. While my paper is on retention rate, I thought it was necessary and important to talk about graduation rate because those two kind of go hand in hand, although they are different things. So I'll talk about graduation rate and something that I found in my research was since the annual return rate of students as they progress through a program is directly related to their degree or certificate completion, the concept of retention usually includes year-by-year retention or persistence rates, as well as graduation rates. Together, these statistics represent student success. Graduation rates are reported in two different ways. They're reported for students who graduate in 4 years and students who graduate in 6 years. Because of the Student Rights to Know Act, it is required that schools are to report the percentage of students that graduate within 6 years, and the percentage of that is 59% of students that graduated nationally within 6 years. So if we look at the statistics that I just talked about earlier for the retention rate, which is 61%, and the national graduation rate, which is 59%, those numbers are not that far off. So, what about the remaining 39.9% of college freshmen? That's really what the goal is. There are a lot of things that come into play for students not continuing on the next school year. And one of those is that students may continue on to be sophomores the next school year, but not at that particular school that they started at. Other factors for students who kind of drop out of school. And although some of the research that I found gives different terms of dropping out with the intent of never going back or dropping out because of different reasons. We'll just use dropping out for lack of a better term for right now. One of those is that financial hardships, and we all know that the cost of education is extremely high. Some students who have to take loans out and don't want to, that could be a financial hardship. Also, some students have to work, and oftentimes working and going to school, especially if it's your first year, could be a little bit overwhelming. Your work schedule, your school schedule may conflict, your work schedule might be overwhelming, or your school schedule might be overwhelming. So balancing that work and school life is one of the factors. Another is that students aren't academically prepared to enter college. There are remedial courses that some students take to get caught up, but I think, in my opinion, because of the No Child Left Behind Act, there are a lot of schools that are just passing students so they can meet their numbers for federal funding or whatever kind of funding that they need, and the students aren't prepared for the coursework that college presents. Another factor is illness, injury, or death, and that could be to the student or to an individual that is close to them, like a parent, a guardian, a sibling, a close family member, or a significant person in their life. Another factor is maturity, in which that kind of goes with being first time away from home and having too much freedom. Oftentimes, students look at schools for the party schools, not for what they are academically capable of. So if I'm not a morning person and most of my classes are in the morning, but I choose to hang out with my friends all night and party and binge drink, then I may not get up for my morning classes, which in turn could result in me failing the class or performing low, which could um, lower my morale, and I can leave. Another, which has nothing to do with what I just said beforehand, is some students enroll in a college without the intent of graduating. They just want to go to school to attain knowledge to advance in a particular career. Some employers, well, they're not looking for individuals with college degrees, they're looking for individuals with some college experience. And some of those college experiences and classes that they take could directly play into whatever career or profession that they are already in or are planning on going into. Another factor is that school culture doesn't match the student interests. That kind of goes with what I was talking about with maturity and being the first time away from home. When students are in high school and looking at school, I think it's important to look at the school culture and understand what the culture is, what the school is about. See if it is aligned with what your culture, belief system, and values are. And lastly, a factor is lack of advising. And this could be on the advisor's part or the student's part. Sometimes students don't take the necessary steps to utilize their advisors. They think that they're there with just a title and not understanding that they're there to help them matriculate and help them overcome whatever obstacles they may be facing, or finding resources to overcome those obstacles to ensure that they excel in higher education. So the impact to students, faculty, and staff. For students, for those that drop out or choose not to return after their freshman year, those individuals that had to take out loans, there could be a debt burden because we all know that we have to pay our loans back. And if you drop out your freshman year, you are required to, unless you do a deferment or find another way around to pay your student loan back. 4 times, research shows that students are 4 times likely to default on loan payments. And that can be because of a lot of different factors. You withdrew from school, but you don't have employment, or the employment that you thought you wanted needs you to have a degree. Those kind of go hand to hand, and the research shows that 3.9 million students dropped out with debt, and that's a lot of students, and that's a lot of money. Another impact is higher unemployment rates. The research that I found showed that degree holders are at 4.1% of the unemployment rate, and those with some college but no degree are at 9.8%. And there are also other factors into these percentages, but we can clearly see that those with a degree are higher than those who choose not to return. The last impact is going back. Some institutions might not accept your transfer credits, so that ultimately ends up in prolonging the degree completion, which could result in lack of morale, and you just want to give up because maybe you don't want to start all the way over. You've had 20 credits, and those 20 credits would already be counted, and they're not. Also, if individuals wait a long time to return back to school, they may already be in a career, have a family, and a life outside of the school. So balancing work, life, and school could be a barrier and an impact to the students. For the faculty and staff, the morale. Students not returning. Some faculty may think that their curriculum was too hard. Their assignments were too hard. They weren't giving their best to make sure that the students got what they needed to get out of the class and to advance higher. And then if there are a lot of students withdrawing, that means that a lot of funds are being taken away federally, which means layoffs and loss of employment. So that's the impact to them. Some possible solutions to student retention. Um, the first is to implement a student retention committee formed of faculty and staff from various departments. Not just one department, but I think that it's important to get information and knowledge and feedback from other departments so that you can have a wide variety of expertise in student retention and see what works, which department has the highest retention rate, um, as opposed to others, and see what they're doing or what could be done collaboratively, what they can collaborate on to boost the retention. Another is to have a clear and defined methodology of how to define and identify at-risk students. And next is to have definable goals. And then next is to have a clear vision and ensure that everyone has buy-in into the vision. So the last three that I said kind of play into hand. And this kind of goes with education as well as an organization as well as your life. I think that you have to have a clear vision to understand your vision and to know what you want, and those individuals have to buy in, because you can't have goals without having a vision or a purpose, and your purpose is to retain students and make sure that they graduate and are equipped for life beyond college. Shared vision and definable goals will enable the universities to allocate resources for student success. Another solution I feel would be to articulate expectations and orientation, first year courses and organizations. We've all been in universities or in settings where they tell you, they give you the scare tactic. Look to the person to the left, look to the person to the right. Somebody's not going to be here next semester. I think that I know when I was in school, that was kind of scary. And I just knew that I wasn't going to be the person to the left, but unfortunately I was the person to the left that wasn't there. But I came back. I think that having those expectations and letting them be known can help with student retention, because students know what is expected, that they have help, that there are individuals in place to make sure that they have everything that they need, the resources that they need to succeed. Another solution is to develop and promote programs for intervention. That kind of goes apart in the first bullet point, implementing a student retention committee. I think that there should be programs in place for individuals who may not be thriving academically, or having social issues, or having other kind of issues that could affect them going to the next school year at the school and advancing. Lastly, I think that the school should collect data, but they should actually put that data to use. So if we are looking at our retention numbers and we see that X amount of students from this socioeconomic background is this percent, and X amount of students is this percent, I think that we should put it to use to make sure that we have all of our factors to ensure that, sorry, I went blank, so that we can improve on it. So for my personal opinion, as stated in the second slide, I believe, the research that I found showed that retention is the responsibility of the student, and persistence is the responsibility. No, retention is the responsibility of the staff, and persistence is the responsibility of the students. I think that it all plays together. I think that retention is the responsibility of the student, as well as the staff, but more so of the student. You have to want to advance, and I guess that kind of goes with persistence, but I think that that was a little backwards to me. I also think that when students are first interested in the university, I think that the expectations should be explained prior to them coming to the university, prior to them being in orientation, prior to them being in a first year course that all freshmen has to take. I think that this information should be relayed on college visits with the parents, so that everyone knows what the expectations are and what things are in place to make sure that your child succeeds, and as well as getting the students' expectations, because I think it's important to measure the students' expectations with the schools to see if it aligns. Thank you, and have a good day.